Randhula, are you ready?
She says with Echelon.
Today, we're going to be talking about thriving in the unconventional with someone who shakes things up wherever she goes. I'm so pleased to be sitting down with Randhula de Silva, the CEO and founder of Good Life X. Hi, Randhula.
Hi, Nikki.
So I'm going to start off with something I actually read on your LinkedIn, which is you described yourself as a catalyst. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. So when I started the work that I do and when I came along working through all the things that I have, it took me a little while to understand that what I'm really doing is working with really different subsectors and different worlds and walking in between them, identifying gaps and filling voids and connecting people, bringing them together to create new possibilities and new realities. And I'm like, what is this? What is this that I continue to do and I like doing? And that's when I came across the concept of being a catalyst. It's widely used out there, and that basically is somebody who sees the bigger picture, who understands the longer term change and brings together a lot of people, a lot of possibilities to create an entirely new reality by making things happen faster and making connections that are unapparent and lateral.
So you talk about filling a void. And that makes me think of the current work you are doing with Good Life X. So Good Life X, in my understanding, is a program for the value chain to support entities in the value chain. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. So when you say value chain, we started working with companies who are working across nature-based value chains. So food and agriculture, wellness and travel, and design. These are the spaces that we initially started off to work with as an accelerator back in 2019. Why we started working in this space is because back then I come with a lot of experience of working with the startup ecosystem and amazing people who are there in the innovation ecosystem. What I noticed and observed was there's so much of interest and hype and even resources going into pure tech and tech-based innovations and startups, whereas there's a lot of spaces in Sri Lanka in the traditional sectors and along the natural value chains that needs a lot of disrupting, that needs a lot of innovation. And can we connect all of this excitement that's there in the young entrepreneurship arena into these spaces that can really thrive, that really the world is asking for? So disconnecting these disconnected dots were what led me to begin the work with Good Life X. And today we are much more than working with startups and beyond just being an accelerator. We work with SMEs as well as corporates. And what we also do is we constantly reinvent our game and what we bring to the table. And today we are here to really create a transition from the old economy into the new, where we help any entity, private sector, public sector, large or small, to become a regenerative company rather than being an extractive company, so that Asia can really lead from the future and create a regenerative space here in Sri Lanka and in Asia, because we are abundant with the natural resources we have, and restoration economy is going to be here to stay, and we are here to make Sri Lanka ready for that.
You said something interesting, that the work you do helps with Good Life X transitions from the old economy to the new. You must face some resistance to that
Every day.
And how do you deal with it?
I think there's two ways we can do this, right? We can continue to talk. We can also walk the talk. So I think we started talking after doing the work for 3 years, and after all the programs that we've implemented, working with 60 plus entrepreneurs and all the work that we've done in these spaces and how the companies really have changed their game and thrived with the work that we've done together, I think we are in a position to showcase those changes and give proof to people who are resistant, people who are not ready to believe, people who are not ready to change for very many good or bad reasons. It doesn't matter. So we put forward such examples, and we make it comfortable for anybody to then convert and work with us. And also, we are not sitting in a comfortable chair telling people what to do. We roll up our sleeves and get to work with them. And that really is what makes things possible for us in creating that change.
So you said something which I really like. You said you need to walk the talk. And you are walking in fairly uncharted territory. So how have you been able to navigate this space, which is very new in Sri Lanka?
So, I mean, not only in startups or the innovation ecosystem, right? I work in social, cultural aspects and creating disruptions or creating things differently there as well. So it basically is my passion to see things beyond a box and to really ability to see things with a certain element of freedom in my mind, and that perhaps is my gift, and to make action out of those possibilities that I see is something that I continually am trying to do and like to do. So this is what I try to practice across all fields that I'm active in. And I think when a person tries to make all of these changes, good things happen, bad things happen, but you also get a lot of people who recognizes the possibility and the potential of these things. So I don't think I would have been able to create anything or do anything that I did if not for those who recognized the need for it and came to join the revolution or join the journey. So I don't want to take credit for anything or anything that I am doing. It is definitely effort of a lot of other people who recognizes it, but also effort of a lot of other people who say that we can't, because that gives us a reason to really intensify our efforts to make it really work and find ways to make it work.
And I'm just curious to hear, has this journey been difficult being a woman, or has it been easier to break through some of these barriers?
I don't like to look at things in a gender lens. I know you know this. And sometimes when I started doing this and when I assumed leadership positions in the private sector, walking into boardrooms, I think I had a sense of even naivety to believe that nothing like gender would really apply. I mean, it was just not something that I have in my head. So I don't expect it to be there at all. It's just out of my reality. But then that was really shattered early on. I understood not even gender, not only even gender, but a lot of other things really matter for you to be heard. And that's when I realized what it is to be doing this as a woman of my age also, because people need a lot of things, unfortunately, to take you seriously. Good ideas and good work itself is not enough. So being consistent in your delivery, being serious about the work that you want to do, and being honest and transparent about the mistakes that you make, and gathering up the support of the right people who can also intensify your efforts are very, very important. Regardless whether you're a man or woman, I think resistance is there for anybody who's trying to do something for the first time or somebody who's doing something afresh. Perhaps for a woman it's harder, but also there's advantages of it now, especially. And when you've come to a position where you've done a lot of things and you've delivered good results, I think things can get easier because you know what you're doing and you've made a lot of mistakes and you've learned from it, and you have the power to also, ability to also win people over to grow things differently and grow things out large.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but your entire team at the Good Life program is female.
Yes, that's right.
Was that a conscious decision?
That's a nice question. It wasn't that, it really wasn't me wanting to or choosing to work with girls only at all. There were interviews that was conducted for all these positions, and I must tell you, this is a very interesting phenomena when I look back at it. When Good Life X transition from being a pilot project under a own entity. We first started as a pilot inside a own entity, right? And then we created a spin-off as a private limited company. When that shift was going to happen, things were very grey. People called it a black box. People were asking, how are you going to make this self-sustainable? How are you really going to make this work? And it's not been done before. And I'm not saying we've made it. We are on our way. We are creating the path as we go. But very few boys who were also in my team back then were ready to jump in and take that risk. And I must say it happened in January 2021 at the height of the pandemic also. So it's a massive risk to take, to come into a new company who's trying to do things in a new way, and above, with all the uncertainties around us, you don't know when the lockdowns are finishing, you don't know whether you're going to have bread or milk at your home. On top of all of that, you're asked to join a brand new company who's trying to do something really new, and it seems very great. It's really girls who put up their hands and said, we want to join this, and we want to do this change and to be part of this together with you. So the operations teams is all girls. I have one boy who's working with me though, and shout out to Hari. Because of him, our podcast series is a reality, and he's still in school. So you can imagine what it's like to this one guy to be working with the all-girls team. But it's working out fantastically. And I must say, girls have the ability to look at things much more laterally. And you don't need all the answers to take action. Whereas when I work with even very experienced men that I have a lot of respect for, there's a lot of questions that needs answering before an action needs to be taken. And I see that difference at every new thing that we try to do. But that said, I have 3 brilliant men who are sitting in my board, who are lateral thinkers themselves. So I think it's not a gender biased thing, to be precise, but when it comes to working with the all-girls team, it makes things very easy when you're creating change.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. I think the pandemic has shown us that women thrive in the unconventional. If you see the countries that responded to the outbreak the best, they were women-led countries. And that says something about women in positions of power and taking decisions. And I think it also speaks a lot to the empathy women have. And you touched on this in your last answer about why why women thrive under these circumstances. But have you seen this in other areas of your life as well?
Absolutely. I think it's a given that if you take a look at gender roles, for centuries, women have been thriving in the unconventional every day, at home, at work, whatever roles that they may be playing in the economy or in the society. We are given problems that need solutions, and sometimes it's almost life or death of us, of our own, or of somebody that we are nurturing. So I think intrinsically we are trained to be responsive in a very innovative and effective way, without always having projections analysis and everything laid out for us. So I think it's now coming more and more into the business world. It's coming more and more into positions of power, and we are seeing the impact that of such thinking and such ability coming into the mainstream power dynamics. That's why it's spoken of much more now. It's nothing new. It's nothing new that women are able to do things laterally and effectively and can thrive in a crisis. I think it's seen more because women have assumed positions of power more, and it's shedding light to the capabilities and abilities that has been dimmed upon centuries ago. You and I both know how Western and Eastern civilizations had women-led economies and countries, and how the tables turned over time. I think we are slowly turning the tables again.
Speaking of the unconventional, your work around startups is well known. You have Good Life X, you've worked with Hatch, the work you do with IREX as well. A little lesser known fact about you is that you are a social activist and you work on some amazingly interesting projects in spaces which are deemed very unconventional. So can you talk to me a little bit about some of those projects and how you reconcile the two, working in the startup ecosystem and also in this area of social change?
So I think what gets me excited is to see possibility and create a new reality out of that possibility. And I really get restless around conventional things that are very boxish. I really don't like boxes. So I think why I chose to work with startups and even work with SMEs and corporates in a very innovative way is my flair for change and flair for a better change. And the work that I do in the social and cultural space, and that goes far back before my career in the startup space as well, where I've done constant and different projects like Occupy the Square, if you remember, in 2015. You can look it up still. To Avilena Suli, the movie that I did or executive produced. And things like Freedom Hub, that really helps younger influencers and innovators to create new voices and new content. So I think for me, these are not two different things. They are perhaps two different spaces.
Yeah.
For me, and this is why I say I'm a catalyst, for me, it's the same change that I'm trying to create for people who have found their gift in two different spheres, be it entrepreneurship, be it media, or be it creativity. Everybody has the potential to do something new in order to grasp a different and a better change for themselves and the people around them. That's why innovation is important. That's why entrepreneurship is important, to disrupt the status quo of the economic conditions of Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the arts and culture, they are important for the change of the mindset of a society, for change of how society is going to create its norms and values. Without that change happening, entrepreneurs can go so far. They will hit a plateau. So even though these two things seem disconnected, they really are interconnected as much as so many other things are. And that's how systems change happen. And you will go so far by putting all this energy into the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem. But if the mindset of the country and the system is stagnant at a different box, you can't go too far, or you can't break through that plateau that you will hit there. So these things are parallel and connected, and that's why I try to do whatever I can in all spaces that I get access to.
So from what you said, innovation is key, and you have done a huge amount of work in that space. But what more can be done?
I don't think I've done a huge amount of work, honestly, Nikki.
Okay.
I mean, I've been in the innovation space for the past 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
There's been so many people who've done amazing things in this country that aren't celebrated enough. I must say that.
That's true.
I've done a few things and I'm still trying to grow them and collect a lot of more traction. I think there needs to be more of us. There can't be enough. In different spaces, in different specialities and expertise, it needs to happen. Either education, either entrepreneurship, either arts, either culture, either private sector or public sector. There needs to be more people who sees beyond the conventional and are comfortable to be uncomfortable, are comfortable to be in the unknown. And everything that COVID taught us, everybody in the world understood that change is going to be the only consistent. And this is nothing new. This is something that we know through Buddhism and so many other religions too. But people really like to live the same life every day and call it a life. Make the same product for 25 years and call it a successful intervention. But there can be so much more that you can do with your skills, your power, your resources that can also create a net positive impact to yourself and to the community and the society that you're connected to. So how can a business do good while doing well? How can an artist continue to thrive and do well too? Right now, artists in our country aren't doing great at all. I mean, that's been a consistent thing for decades. So these things really need to change. And I think it takes a lot of people who see things differently and are willing to change the game, step up and just get it done.
You said something interesting about how a lot of people are static in a way. that they need this change in mindset. Do you think the multiple roles you have had throughout your career has helped you enhance your knowledge, have this different outlook on life?
I think so. I truly believe so. Multiple careers and also multiple exposures to different spheres. What I get exposed to in the arts and culture world helps me so much to look at things creatively and laterally in the business world, and vice versa. And that's how I ended up executive producing this film, because I had the private sector composure to come and drill into a project that was hanging with a shoestring budget, which had to be, bootstrapped like a startup, and to see it to fruition. So I think, yes, it has definitely helped me. And I went into university at the age of 21 in Sri Lanka, but I started working when I was 19. My first position was as an intern in a international bank here, and I had no intentions of being a banker. I went in because my mother was a banker, and that was like the first door that she could open for me. But from there to now, all positions that I've said yes to has given me something in return. In event management, in comparing, in writing up PR articles, all these things that I did as an undergraduate really helped me form what I am today and my skill set today, which gives me the ability to deliver results in very many different methods and spheres. And this is something that I try to give my team as well. In my team, we don't have designations or roles. They get to be their own CEO in their own project, and they get to give me work to do for them, so that they learn on the job how to become a leader as well. And those are things that are really essential and important, especially in the future, if not now.
So they say change is uncomfortable but necessary. I think you have spent your career instigating change, whether it be through Good Life X and diversifying the export basket, or Freedom Hub disrupting, and Media Inc. for that matter, disrupting the media space. What would you say to people who are hesitant of change?
I mean, the more you resist it, the more hard it's going to be. So it's all about letting go and embracing the next moment, and being receptive of whatever form or shape it might take. If you're really going to be fixated and holding hard onto one thing, and we saw how companies like that crumbled during COVID, right? It's inevitable, and you can't predict it. It's not something that you can prepare yourself for. The only thing that you can prepare yourself for is to be open to change. And when you say change, it can happen in two ways. You can either be a creator of change, and that's what I call disruptive. You disrupt something or the status of something as it from where it is, and build something new. You can also let change happen to you. You go with the flow. Not everybody has got to be an innovator. Not everybody needs to be a disruptor. But you can also let change happen to you without resisting it, in order for you to grow and evolve as a human being and maximize your own potential. And that really is growth at the end.
So just embrace the change. Let it happen to you. Randhula, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
It's an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Nikki. I hope you had as much as fun as I did.
Of course.